Earth, 1988, a young Peter Quill, Wyatt Oleff, waits in a hospital waiting room, wearing headphones and listening to Awesome Mix Tape No. 1 on his Walkman. His grandfather, Greg Henry, comes out to collect him so he can say farewell to his ailing mother, who has a brain tumor. His mother gives him a gift and informs him that his father was an angel and that Peter is similar to him. She extends her hand, but he is too afraid to grasp it. She then passes away. Peter, horrified, rushes outdoors and is abducted by a spaceship. Morag, 2014, while listening to Awesome Mix Tape No. 1, an adult Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, Chris Pratt, searches for a mysterious orb on the planet Morag. He locates the orb and removes it from a laser enclosure. Korath the Pursuer, Jimin Hunsu, and his minions ambush him very immediately. After a shootout, Peter escapes aboard his ship, the Milano, Yondu Yadanta. Michael Rooker, the leader of the Ravager squad who reared Peter, calls and tells him to give him the orb. Peter makes the decision to sell it on his own. Yondu's soldiers admonish him for always being gentle on Peter despite his constant betrayals after Peter hangs up, which Yondu blows off, being more interested in finding out who else is interested in the orb. Korath returns to the Dark Aster, a Kree cruiser captained by a homicidal tyrant, Ronan the Accuser, Lee Pace, who aims to destroy Xander after his father and grandfather were murdered by their people. Korath says that he was unable to obtain the orb and that it is now in the possession of Peter. Ronan desires the orb because he can trade it for Thanos' destruction of Xander. Ronan decides to send Thanos' daughter Nebula, Karen Gillan, after Peter, but Gamora, Zoe Saldana, volunteers instead. Ronan dispatches Gamora in response to Nebula's objections. On the planet Xander, Peter shows the orb to a broker, Christopher Fairbank, and inquires about it, as Ronan's men are also interested. When the broker hears Ronan's name, he instantly backs out, refusing to deal with the orb and removing Peter from the shop. Outside, Gamora leaps over Peter and attempts to collect the orb on her own. They are ambushed while fighting by Rocket Raccoon, Bradley Cooper, and Groot, Vin Diesel, who are looking to claim a bounty on Peter. On Xander, Stan Lee appears as an old man chatting up a young lady. Rocket refers to him as a pervert. It isn't long before Peter, Gamora, Rocket, and Groot are apprehended by the Nova Corps and transported to the KYLN, a space prison. Everyone in the prison wants to kill Gamora since she is Thanos' daughter. Drax the Destroyer, Dave Bautista, one of the inmates, has a grudge against her because Ronan murdered his wife and daughter, and he intends to avenge them by killing one of Ronan's family members in exchange. Gamora explains that she is not connected to Ronan and that she intended to double-cross him. Peter makes a case for Gamora. Meanwhile, Ronan is summoned to Thanos' dominion amid an asteroid field. Ronan informs Thanos, Josh Brolin, that Gamora is a traitor and murders one of Thanos' lieutenants for disrespecting him. Thanos orders him to look after her and obtain the orb, threatening to murder him if he does not. He also mentions Gamora as his favorite daughter, which irritates Nebula. Gamora has a plan to sell the orb to someone else back at the KYLN. Peter, Rocket, and Groot agree to assist and share the bounty. Rocket has devised an escape strategy. He requires one of the guard's wrist devices, a prisoner's prosthetic leg, and a battery from a lofty jail column. As he explains how crucial it is to take the battery last, Groot snatches it first. Alarms sound, and security droids arrive. As Peter bargains for the prisoner's leg, Gamora rushes to acquire a wrist device. Drax decides to join the escape, knowing that Ronan will eventually go after Gamora and then he can murder Ronan himself. Everyone gets their agreed-upon object and makes it to a guard post towards the top of the prison. Rocket is startled that Peter received the leg and claims that he, Rocket, was simply joking and that he didn't really need it. Rocket rigs up the things to turn off the gravity in the prison and use the security droids as jets to fly the guard station out of the prison just as they appear to be out of time. They flee, but Peter abandons the others, informing Rocket that he forgot something. He is, in fact, recovering his Walkman with the awesome mixtape from one of the guards. Yondu visits his broker and discovers that Peter still has the orb. Using his arrow to threaten the broker, he convinces him to tell where Peter may have traveled. Everyone on Peter's ship becomes more acquainted with one another, they have nothing in common. They soon arrive at Nowhere, a space station created in a celestial severed skull, to meet with the Collector. Drax, Rocket, and Groot get drunk and gamble while waiting for their appointment. Music brings Gamora and Peter together. He explains that his mother created a mixtape of her favorite songs for him. She is attentive and enjoys it. He invites her to dance, but she refuses. He compares it to an old fable about folks who don't dance called Footloose. He makes a move on her, but she refuses to fall for his pelvic magic because she isn't one of the doe-eyed females he's used to. Drax, Rocket, and Groot, all intoxicated, fight before they can meet with the Collector. Drax thinks Groot is stupid, while Rocket is sick of being called a rat. Peter persuades them not to fight. The Collector's helper brings them all to meet him. Drax walks off on his own and calls Ronan. The Collector, Benicio del Toro, owns a massive collection of collectibles from all around the universe, including Howard the Duck and Cosmo the Soviet space dog. The Collector places the orb in a lathe, which unscrews the orb's two halves to reveal that it is a capsule for an Infinity Stone. The Infinity Stones, according to the Collector, are 6 singularities formed during the Big Bang. There are more of them, and they are capable of destroying entire planets. The Collector's assistant snatches the stone and tries to kill him. The Infinity Stone poisons her, causing her and everything around her to explode. The majority of the individuals, including Cosmo, survive. Peter and the others flee with the orb containing the Infinity Stone. They decide that taking the stone to Nova headquarters is the safest option. It's too risky to be anywhere else. Suddenly, Ronan and his men ambush the group in response to Drax's summons. Yondu's Ravager Battalion also appears, having tracked down Peter from the broker. Nebula and some of Ronan's thugs pursue Gamora, Rocket, and Quill on separate passenger ships. Drax tries to fight Ronan but is severely battered. Nebula chases Gamora's ship through the atmosphere and destroys it. Nebula obtains the Infinity Stone and abandons Gamora to die in space. Peter realizes he cannot let Gamora die, so he contacts Yondu to inform him of his location, then quits his ship and floats to Gamora, where he offers her his gas mask to keep her alive. Yondu arrives and uses a tractor beam to save Peter and Gamora from freezing to death. This is when we realize Yondu's ship is the identical one that kidnapped Peter as a toddler. Meanwhile, on the Dark Aster, Ronan informs Thanos that now that he has the Infinity Stone, he can back out of the pact. Instead, he will destroy Xander and then pursue Thanos. He inserts his hammer with the Infinity Stone back on Yondu's ship. Yondu is about to kill Peter for betraying him, but he changes his mind when Peter states he has a plan to retrieve the orb back. Meanwhile, Drax, Groot, and Rocket decide to band together to defend Peter and Gamora from Yondu. They fly the Milano to Yondu's ship and threaten to blow it up with a secret weapon Rocket designed if Yondu does not free Peter and Gamora. Peter appears from the throng aboard Yondu's ship and convinces Rocket that he does not require rescue. Peter, who is now on board the Milano, says that they must prevent Ronan from touching the Infinity Stone to the ground of Xander, which will destroy the planet, and that he has a method to stop Ronan. The others question Peter on whether he truly has a plan or whether he is lying. He claims to have a plan. After much deliberation, he declares that he has 12% of a strategy. Everyone laughs, save Groot, who claims, through Rocket, that this is more than 11% of the plan. Rocket claims that if they try to stop Ronan, they will most likely die. Peter points out that they've already lost so much that they have nothing to lose at this point. Each of them slowly stands up and declares that he would join the struggle against Ronan. Peter warns the Nova Corps that Ronan is coming to destroy them and that they should prepare, assuring them that they should believe him since he isn't completely a jerk. Rocket proposes blowing a hole in Ronan's ship so that Peter, Groot, Drax, and Gamora can board it. Gamora will remove the power for Ronan's safety, and then they will blow him up with a cannon Rocket built. They begin the strategy. Rocket smashes a hole in the Dark Aster before assisting Yondu and his men in defending Xandar from Ronan's fighter ships. Yondu is killed. When urged to surrender on the ground, he instead uses his arrow to take down an entire battalion of goons. Gamora and Nebula fight on the Dark Aster, as Drax, Peter, and Groot hurry to the ship's bridge. Dozens of Nova ships join forces to form a massive net, slowing the Dark Aster's descent. Gamora eventually defeats Nebula, who falls and commandeers a Ravager ship, throwing the pilot out the window and flying away. Ronan directs his ships to launch a kamikaze attack on Xandar. Rocket and Yondu soldiers destroy as many ships as they can. Drax murders Korath as they approach the bridge. Groot sprouts a long, thin branch and thrashes many of Ronan's troops. Everyone eventually gets up to the bridge to confront Ronan. He's too strong for them yet again, although Peter manages to shoot Ronan with Rocket's super cannon without success. Rocket destroys Ronan by crashing the Milano onto the bridge. As the entire ship falls into Xandar, Groot constructs a massive nest around them all for protection. Rocket is angry because he knows what Groot is doing will kill him. Groot, who had hitherto only declared, "I am Groot," responds with, "We are Groot." The ship goes down. Except for Groot, everyone is fine. Groot is a strewn-about mass of twigs. However, the war is not done because Ronan is still alive and thriving. He jokingly refers to Peter and his gang as the Guardians of the Galaxy. Quill rises up and begins to dance to the song "Goo Child," challenging Ronan to a dance-off as he raises his hammer for the fatal strike. Ronan is perplexed until Peter explains that it was all a ruse, as Drax and Rocket fire Ronan's hammer at him, unleashing the Infinity Stone. Peter snatches the stone before Ronan. Peter begins to feel the same way as the Collector's aide. Holding the stone will kill him, but Gamora instructs him to accept her hand instead. He remembers not having the confidence to touch his mother's hand, and now he clutches Gamora's. Drax and Rocket join the others in holding hands, and the power of the Infinity Stone is distributed among the four of them, generating a blast of energy that vaporizes Ronan. Rocket takes one of the sticks that used to be Groot. Yondu appears and demands the stone in accordance with his initial agreement with Peter. Peter presents him with the orb. As Yondu and his men depart, one of them remarks that he loves Peter and is relieved that they did not take him back to his father as they were supposed to all those years ago. Gamora is angry because Peter gave up the stone. Peter admits to switching the orbs, but he still possesses the one containing the stone. They turn over the orb containing the Infinity Stone at Nova HQ, and Peter discovers he's only half human and half something old and mysterious. They believe his inhuman genes enabled him to keep the Infinity Stone without dying. Yondu's ship is hosting a party. Yondu's crew is jubilant, but he looks carefully at the orb before opening it. It contains a troll doll. He laughs. Peter eventually gets around to opening the gift his mother gave him before she died. It's a tape titled, Awesome Mix Tape No. 2. He inquires as to where the Guardians wish to travel. Gamora responds, "You lead, Star-Lord." He inquires whether they want anything good or something nasty. He then decides they should do something that is both of these things. Rocket is holding a pot in which he has placed the stick he recovered after Groot's sacrifice. On the stick, We can see the face of a small Groot. Final credits. During the credits, a slightly larger baby Groot than in the previous scene dances in his pot to Quill's 1980s music, with Drax in the background. When Drax looks at him, the infant Groot stops, but he resumes when Drax looks away. After the credits, the Collector is drinking on the debris when Cosmo, the Soviet space dog, approaches and licks his face. We hear a voice say, "That's gross." The camera pans out to reveal Howard the Duck, who is drinking while perched atop a broken cage.